Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Today I have for you a layout process video featuring the new Pinkfresh Life Right Now collection. Now I have done an unboxing video of both Pinkfresh new paper lines, and I will link you up to that down below in the show description. And last week I did a layout process video with the Happy Heart new collection, so if you want to see that, I can link you to that as well. So today I am using the Life Right Now collection, and as I just kind of go over what pieces of this collection I bought, I'm trying to get a sense of what story I want to tell, because normally I will start with photos and figure out a story to tell, but today I wasn't sure. Now, some of these pieces of paper do have stories that I want to tell with them, but I wasn't ready to tell those, so I grabbed my story binder and I start flipping through it, and I'm trying to decide which story that I can tell using this paper line. And so I land on these photos that are of my daughters having a movie night at home, eating popcorn, but that's not really the story that I want to tell. So I'm going to use these photos to tell a bigger story using this Pinkfresh paper line. So I am going through the collection just trying to get a sense of what stuff might or might not work for this, and I start flipping through the pattern paper. Now I'm going to set off to the left papers that I know I want to save for other stories, and off to the right I will set things that I think I could work for this story. And my biggest problem with this paper line is that I love both sides of the pattern papers. So what I'm going to do is cut apart a couple of different pieces of these paper and do a split design layout so I can save the other pieces of these pattern papers. When I've got these pieces cut apart, now I need to reassemble them back into 12 by 12, and I've recently rearranged my craft space to get this craft mat on my desk so that it won't be glary for videos, and so that I can use that grid to reassemble pieces back together into 12 by 12. So I'm happy that I've got this grid as part of my workflow now. So as I start thinking about the overall design of this layout, I realize that top photo there has my oldest daughter staring straight at the camera, and the story isn't about her. So I'm going to go ahead and trim her out of that photo because she is in the second photo, and the story does have to do with her. It's just not about her. So cutting out distracting elements from your photo can be a tip if you're having a hard time. This story is about my youngest daughter, and it's actually about my oldest daughter getting ready to leave for college and how my youngest daughter is handling that, feeling about that, all of those kinds of things. And so having these family movie nights together are becoming more and more rare, and there's a lot of feelings going on there. So that's the story I want to tell today. And I wanted to use that colorful kind of circular pattern paper there in the background because it has a lot going on, and that kind of mimics how our feelings have a lot going on. So that's that. With this main focal photo, I did want to give it a little more emphasis because that is who this layout is about. So I double mat it with a couple of Carl pattern papers, and then I am going to pop it up with these quote-unquote foam dots. So I just created those with the leftover branding strips, and I layered up 3 branding strips, cut that in half, and then layered those both up. So it's 6 layers all together. And I'm trying to find more and more ways to make sure I'm not throwing away as much stuff, because not only did I spend money on it, but there's also the environmental impact of all of the supplies that we purchase and use. So I'm just trying to be a little more conscious of all of that. At any rate, as I was talking about that, I did create a banner that is going to hold my journaling, and I wanted a nice big space for my journaling. I am working on my alphabet set here so that I can create my title, and I came up with what I want my title to be. I do know that I want it to go up in that corner, so that is definitely not working as is, so I need a mat that is going to help keep that title focused and clear, and I will go ahead and use that gray pattern paper for matting the photo to hold my title. So I've got the same blue from my photo mat for my journaling and the gray from my photo mat for my title, so that helps bring in the cohesiveness. So here's another reason why I like this grid on my table, because I can use it to help line up my whatever pieces I need to line up, typically alphabets. If you haven't seen this tip before, I use this tape tip all the time, and I put glue on the back of my letters once they're all lined up, and then I can tape them down to my project. Now, I didn't wait for the glue to dry long enough, so they did slip around on me. But if you're more patient and you wait for your glue to dry, that tape tip really helps keep everything straight and tidy. So I am continuing to assemble this layout. Because I covered up a lot of that colorful pattern paper with my journaling block, I did want to bring in more color, so I just cut a little strip of the striped pattern paper in this collection, and I love that stripe. I just love the colors, and so I'm happy to use a piece of it but still have plenty left to use on other layouts. Now, it also creates a little shelf for an embellishment right there next to my title, and I wanted a clock embellishment, and I thought because this collection is all about kind of homey things that there might be a clock in there, but there wasn't. However, there was a what's the word for it? Compass. There we go. There was a compass in there, which looks a lot like a clock. And so I am just adding a couple of little strips of pattern paper to create hands on this clock, and then I've made my own embellishment. I do use that big punch to punch through the chipboard so that I can add a centerpiece to those hands of the clock with a brad. And because I do add a brad there, I am going to add brads other places. So at any rate, that finishes off my little clock embellishment, so I can move on with other embellishments for this page. It's not going to be complicated embellishments. I have one large cluster down there at the bottom, and that little card that talks about feelings was perfect for this story. And so I add a brad there next to one of those kind of emoji faces to represent mostly what we're feeling, but knowing that all of those feelings are there. And then I have a medium-sized embellishment cluster right above that photo, and then I'll add a small embellishment cluster at the top of the focal photo. So that will be my embellishing, and I am sure to add different textures and layers and overlapping and touching elements so that those clusters feel cohesive. I do try to make sure that some of the elements from one cluster are mimicked in some way in the other clusters. So if I have squares and circles and brads, I'm going to make sure that all of my clusters have some of those things. So I have that chair icon down there, which is really homey in the bottom big cluster. So I want to add a little bit of hominess to the other clusters, which I find two little houses, and they were connected and I cut them apart, and that works for that. Now, you saw me stamp some journaling lines on there. I did not stamp them in full ink because I did not want those lines to compete with the diagonals of the pattern paper, but I needed a very faint journaling line to keep my writing on track because I'm kind of a sloppy writer. And here is a very quick tip for you before we go. If you've ever struggled with brads or you're new to using brads, the prongs on the back, when you poke them through your project, can snag on other things, either stacks of layouts or when you're trying to slide it into your page protector. And I solved that just by putting a little strip of low-tack tape across those prongs, and that keeps them smooth and flat, and then I don't have to worry about them snagging on anything. So that does finish off my layout for today. I hope the small tips in this video were helpful to you. If you did find them helpful, I would appreciate a thumbs up because that does help my channel. Thank you for watching all the way to the end because that also helps my channel. I will be back each day the rest of this week with a new video for you, so I hope you will stick around and watch everything I have to share this week. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.